Aventurine will be here in Honkai Star Rail in less than 1 week. Hot Gambler Man has a ton of potential and quite possibly could be one of, if not the best unit when he debuts. In the previous video, we talked about everything Aventurine and why he is so amazing. But today, we're going to break down his actual banners, as well as their value for both their characters and the light cones. In addition, we're going to cover what it takes to make sure you're ready to get your Aventurine to the top where he belongs. So let's start with his character warp. Obviously, Aventurine is the star of the show. His kit's going to be useful for most use cases that any Honkai player could need. His team synergy is also quite strong, and he's going to work in a wide pool of characters. But we already covered all of that in the previous video. And as of today, we finally have confirmation of his major traces, so let's quickly go over those. His first major trace is leverage. For every 100 of Aventurine's defense that exceeds a certain value, it'll increase his own crit rate up to a maximum limit. With this trace, it'll almost be certain that while we're building Aventurine, we want to hit this defense threshold and then go on to speed. His next one is called Hot Hand, and when the battle starts, it'll grant all allies that fortified wager shield, and the shield will be a certain percentage of the one that he uses for his skill. This pretty much means that Aventurine is going to start off the battle already being SP positive. The last one is called Bingo, and it's fairly wordy, so let's break it down. Any ally that has that fortified wager shield launches a follow-up attack, it'll give a blind bet point to Aventurine. You can do this probably 2 or 3 times, it doesn't say yet, but you can reset it with another Aventurine turn. Additionally, when Aventurine uses his follow-up attack, it'll give all allies a fortified wager shield, and it'll give an extra shield to the person with the least amount of shield. And keep in mind that Aventurine's shields are all stackable, so that's a lot of protection. Assuming we get pretty good values for what we don't know about the traces, these are actually pretty solid. I especially like the crit rate one because I plan on building a hybrid form of Aventurine. Sadly, while Aventurine's value is extremely high, his fellow 4 stars leave something to be desired from his banner. Most of the value from the 4 stars on the banner, especially if you're free to play, is going to be from Lynx, who arguably is the best healer for free to play. With her being on the banner, she can get a really good boost at Eidolon 2 and Eidolon 6. E4 is okay for a minor attack boost, and then E1 is going to be decent for a 50% or lower health. One of the cool things about Lynx being in the banner is that you can partially build her the same as Aventurine if you want to. If you want your Aventurine to have a little bit more speed, you're going to want the 2-piece messenger set, not the 4, because his ultimate doesn't hit allies. This is also the same for Lynx, whose best in slot is the 4-piece messenger set. Luckily, their planar ornaments also line up very well. You can run both Lynx and Aventurine with the Broken Keel set, which is just when you hit a certain effect res threshold, you give all of your allies crit damage boost. Oh, and if you do have more Broken Keels on the same team, they all stack with each other. As if that wasn't enough, Broken Keel is extremely efficient to farm in World 7 of Simulated Universe. The other half of World 7 is Rudolent Arena, which is fantastic for certain DPS. And I do kinda have to get better ornaments for my Jingliu and my Donghong Abaibidulune. But yeah, sticking with Broken Keel is very good because it's so usable on so many different characters in the entire game, so this is why Lynx has some value in the banner. Sadly, the other 2 aren't quite as good as Lynx in the endgame content. Any of these characters are fine for story or daily content, but MOC, Pure Fiction, the other 2 are going to struggle a little bit more than Lynx. That's not to say you can't use them, but their investment's going to be a lot higher to make them in the same state. Now don't get me wrong, I love Serval's character design. I mean, who doesn't love a cool guitar player? But while she's totally rad, even in Pure Fiction, which caters to Erudition units, she can't keep up with Herta, Himeko, Argenti, Genuine. Her 2 best Eidolon boosts are going to be at 4, which is a 100% base chance to apply shock to everybody with the ultimate, and E6, which gives a damage boost to the shocked enemies. Mainly for me though, Serval will probably just be Starlight Exchange fodder so I can get that Bronya light cone. The other character in the banner is Luka, who is slightly more usable than Serval in my opinion, but still fairly niche. Sadly, his skill has a built-in bleed cap based on his attack percent, but there are a couple of upsides. Although he is very single target heavy, he doesn't need to be built with any crit, so he's much more free to play friendly as well. A sad fact for Luka is that he will explicitly struggle in the endgame content just because of that single target factor and that bleed cap. Eidolon wise, E1 gives a damage boost for 2 turns to bleeding enemies when they're attacked by Luka, and E6 gives additional bleed procs on his enhanced basic attack. And those are the primary Eidolons that you're going to want to get on Luka. Either way, both Serval and Luka are low on my to be built list, but now that we've discussed the characters, let's discuss the light cone portion of the banner. Aventurine's best light cone is going to be inherently unjust destiny. And as of yesterday, we finally get to know what it does. The light cone increases defense by 40%, his own crit damage by 40%, and increases the damage an enemy takes by 10% when his follow-up attack hits the target. Overall, a pretty dang good light cone, but it doesn't look like it's going to get very much use on the other preservation characters, since all it really would do for them is increase their defense by the 40%. Although maybe in the future we'll get another follow-up attacker preservation unit, we never know. We also know what Concert for Two is going to do as of this video. It of course features Robin singing for her brother Sunday when they were little, increases the wearer's defense by 16%, and for every on-field character that has a shield, the damage dealt by the wearer increases by 4%. This will increase Aventurine's damage if you do put it on him by 16%. So overall, a very good backup option if you don't get his main cone. Not too shabby. We do, however, know about the other two light cones that are there, like Shared Feeling and Abundance Cone. And it's actually not too bad of a light cone. It provides a 10% healing boost for the user and regenerates 2 energy for all allies when using the skill. It does lack really good scaling on its super impositions, but because I lack so many abundance cones and characters, thank you Yang Ching, it comes out to be a pretty solid one for my Bailu. The other one is Make the World Clamor, which is also not the worst choice for Erudition units, but there are better ones. It scales pretty well, and I guess the 20 energy at S1 is okay when you start a battle, but the real part of the cone is the ultimate damage by 32%. I mean, you can just imagine how much Argenti would love this light cone. For this final section, I just briefly want to explain what you can do to get ready for Aventurine's arrival, should you choose to pull him or his light cone. For his Ascension materials, make sure you choose the new Bud of Preservation, the one that's in Penacony, the one that was introduced in this patch, not that silly old Japard one. And you should be getting Divine Ambers as your primary source. Building Aventurine, as we discussed in the previous video, is fully up to the player. Upon being corrected, I will most likely be using a 2-2 of some sort between the Messenger, Archduke, or Knight of Purity Palace. Although remember, in the case of Archduke and Messenger, we're not going to use the 4-piece because he won't get that much benefit from it. Archduke and the Messenger sets are both super efficient to farm, as both caverns pair with really usable relic sets. Sadly, with the Knight of Purity Palace, it pairs with the Sizzling Thunder, which is okay on lightning characters, but at this point it's pretty much power crept by other sets. My personal recommendation would be to use your relic fragments that you get from decomping your 5 stars to craft either the head or the hands for the Knight of Purity set, since those are fixed stats. After that, it's just making sure you have 65 of these suppressing edicts that you get from this Shape of Puppetry. Oh, and for Echo of War, make sure you do the Borehole Planet's Old Crater, the one with the big bug that Ranmei made. Yeah, that's the one he's gonna need. Anyway, that's all the info you should need to make sure you're prepared for Aventurine. I'll definitely be pulling for him, and most likely his light cone, as my pool of sustainers is very low. The banners might not be the strongest, but they're overall pretty solid in my opinion. So can we safely say Aventurine's banner is worth it? The answer is yes. But as usual, I would love to hear all of your guys' opinions. Do you think Aventurine's worth it? Are you going to be pulling for him in his light cone? Let me know in the comments below. As for now, my name is Mogul, and I thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe for more Honkai Star Rail, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.